Happy Friday, and I'm very pleased to still see our raindrops are coming and wildflowers will soon be blooming. I'm so proud to see our great turnout this morning here for strategic planning. I'm Lynette Zalesny, president here at California State University, Bakersfield. We are being live streamed today. We do have folks that are tuning in. We will be recorded today. This is a very important day for your voice to be heard, and I'm so thankful that you're in attendance to help us get to the very next step of our hard work in our strategic plan. And first, let me say, I'm so proud of the process that we have in place. As you know, the first 6 months of our academic year, we spent listening and listening carefully to all of the voices of our campus, our students, faculty, staff, also our wonderful advisory groups, our community, and we also heard from folks that wrote into us or wrote to the letter of the editor or wanted to comment on our feedback page. So in all, we've had a process of 3 town halls that we were listening to data and feedback. We had about 150 faculty that met with me in very small groups. We call it Coffee and Conversations. I want to thank you all for joining me and sharing your ideas. Again, pride points, what makes you proud to be at CSUB, what are our opportunities in front of us. And we also, again, went out to various constituencies. I went to the Academic Senate, to ASI, I met with community leaders, and in all, our process yielded 50-plus pages of raw data, ideas, and these are uniquely our thoughts and ideas here at CSUB. And I'm very proud to say that we worked with that raw data to clean it and to then make it useful data to our strategic planning and budget committee here at CSUB so that we could see the visual of that data that is ours. And what we were able to see in word clouds, which you'll see today, is that there were themes. And those themes have been, again, guided by our voices. And you'll see the work of the committee has been very, very true to the data. This has been a very data-driven process. So today you're going to hear more about what came before us from your voices and the work of the subcommittee and how they have derived today some draft goals. And those draft goals have, again, been carefully worded for your feedback. And we have met in subcommittee groups, ad hoc groups, to, again, refine the wording for your consideration today. But again, your feedback only adds to the value and the quality of our strategic plan. So we thank you very much for your full attention. Framing those goals, of course, will be our mission, vision, and values. And I want to thank Dr. Jackie Kegley, who's here at the center court, where she always is. And I want to thank her for leading a subcommittee in reviewing mission, vision, and values. And she again brings a draft to you today, which is a refreshed draft based on the foundation of the mission that we've been working from for these many years. So we're very proud of our foundation, but we're also very proud of the opportunity to lift and to leverage that foundation for our next steps. I have some important people that I want to recognize, and first I'd like to recognize the subcommittee of the Strategic Planning and Budget Committee. All of you that serve on the University Strategic and Budget Planning Committee, would you please stand and let us recognize you? Please stand. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So these are the folks that are your conduits. All right, so if today you have reflections and thoughts and you need to channel your ideas in ways that are very personal, because we really pride ourselves in the personal touch and our family spirit here at CSUB, these are the folks that are there as your leaders, that are the conduits to bring your voice back as we continue this process. Now, I do want to give you a bit of a timeline and why it's important and urgent that our work remains very focused here today. And that work is important because we want to get to May, just prior to graduation, and we want to have a strategic plan that we bring back to the community, both campus-wide and our Kern community, that we feel proud of and that we want a final look at and a final ratification of. Now, why do we need that by May? Because as you know, we are very, very eager to move forward with our first ever comprehensive capital campaign. And I can tell you, I'm the one that I think is the most excited because there's so many opportunities for us to, again, bring in diversified funding to support the many good works that happen here at CSUB. And I'm so excited about starting that process. So in May, we will have our strategic plan. We'll immediately have in front of us a group of consultants that will help us with our feasibility study for our comprehensive campaign. What is a feasibility study? That is a group that will go out to our community and will share the goals that you again come up with, and will say, what is the appetite and the amount that you would be willing to support. So it will give us our goalposts in terms of our funding streams and where we'll likely prioritize those funding streams. Now, don't forget, one thing that we're here at CSUB is very innovative. So we'll be thinking, of course, about not only innovative gifts of philanthropy, but we'll be thinking about other ways of bringing in funding. So let me also share with you throughout this process, this is all team. So as you will see, this is a very inclusive process, and that you will see in our data. You're likely to see, oh, there's my comment, right? There's the comment that I made months ago. It got captured. It's being considered. So I hope you'll see your voice has been at the forefront. But leading the team, and again, I'm so proud of this team, is our Chief Diversity Officer here at California State University, Bakersfield, and also Special Assistant to the President, Claudia Catoda. Would you give her a round of applause for her leadership? So Claudia is serving as the coordinator of this process, and her work really begins very quickly after today. Once we meet the objective of today, which is we hope to bring forward today the next round of understanding and approving what our vision, mission, and values are. And again, under the framework of that, the goals that the subcommittee is going to be bringing to you. We're going to have team members from our subcommittee that'll be speaking with you about the work that was done collectively and bringing it to you so that you can ask questions and understand that process. And so we hope to get to a place where we have our goals, and today we're going to be presenting 5 potential goals, again, data-driven, and we hope then to move very quickly in assigning co-chairs to each of those goals. And those co-chairs, again, will then lead 6 to 8 people on each goal that will be bringing forward the outcomes that we expect under each of those goals. That will be the next step, and that will happen in the next month. After the outcomes have been vetted, we will then come back to the groups and the goal task force committees to identify the strategies to get to those goals. And then I'm going to ask the committees to also think about the timeline. What happens in year 1? What happens in year 2? What happens in year 3? And that will help us, again, to be organized and disciplined to the strategic plan and aligning it with our budget, because that's why the strategic plan is so very, very important. It gives us direction on where our resources are going to go. So with that, I hope that there's a great understanding of that process. I do want to thank some folks that have worked tirelessly behind the scenes. And let me introduce to you Ana Santos, who is the staff person overseeing strategic and budget planning, and she works in the Office of the President. So Ana Santos, would you please stand and be recognized? I would also like to recognize an entire IT team, but throughout this process also giving us IT support, also from the Office of the President, Jorge Villatora. Will you stand and be recognized? And just so you know, we are invested in making sure that this is a professional, no details missed. I have aligned with an advisor from the American Association of State Colleges and Universities, which has an acronym of ASCU. And again, this is an affiliation that we've had for a long time, a long-standing affiliation with ASCU. And I have asked Sal Ranella, Dr. Sal Ranella, who has served in the CSU as a vice president at Fullerton and also went on to serve as a president at Austin Peay. Many of you know that work there because it was on the front page of the Chronicle because of their great work with underrepresented students and student success. So he comes to us very highly recommended, and you will see he's going to be with you today in making sure that we move forward and we're progressing. And he only has experience on years and years of strategic planning with other CSUs, places like Berkeley, and so he comes with great expertise. Would you please welcome our advisor for strategic planning, and that's Dr. Sal Ranella. So I believe I'm going to check in with my advisor here. I think I've given an overview that you had expected here. I want to pause briefly. Are there questions about what we expect today, about the process? You're going to hear momentarily from our coordinator, Claudia Katota, who will share about the work plan today. Do we have any questions, concerns? All feeling good about where we're going today. All right, I want to thank you again for being here. I'm delighted to be with you. I'm delighted to serve with you here at this amazing university. Let me turn the work of our plan today to our Chief Diversity Officer and Coordinator of the Strategic Plan and Budget Committee, our own Claudia Katota.
So as we look ahead in terms of our planning model for our strategic plan, there's a few elements that are going to make up our strategic plan for our university. There's our core values. You'll be seeing the drafts of the core values, vision, and mission later today. The core values are what are our fundamental beliefs, truths that we hold as self-evident for our university. As we look at our vision, look into a crystal ball, what would our ideal future, what is CSU be? For a mission, who are we? What do we do? Who do we serve? And how are we different from other institutions? These three elements will then lead us into our goals. In broad terms, what do we have to do in order to achieve our mission? We will then be going into desired outcomes. How will we know when we arrive to these particular goals? And what are the strategies that would then lead us into achieving our desired outcomes? In terms of the work plan and for the timing, so we've been doing a lot of work, as Dr. Zalesny mentioned, since the beginning of the academic year to prepare for the point that we are today. So on February 14th, the University Strategic Planning and Budget Advisory Committee met to discuss the feedback we received as a university that you provided through the runner walk and talks, the campus town halls, the coffee and conversation. That information was presented at the February 14th meeting. We then discussed what that information meant for our campus. We then broke off into a vision subcommittee headed by Dr. Kegley, as well as a goals subcommittee led by Dr. Harper. What you'll hear today is a draft of those core values, mission, and vision, and goals at today's forum. So we're actually at step 3 of our work plan. So I'd like to turn this over to Dr. Harper.
Good morning. That was not a good one. Good morning. Yeah, thank you for that. I have also really enjoyed all of the work that we've done to this point. And I also want to thank both Claudia and Sal for their leadership in this particular process. Over the course of it, we have really come from a place where we went into it with the questions of how is this going to go? How are we going to play a role in shaping the future and the destiny of this organization? And at this point, we feel really, really confident on the work that we've done. And this is an opportunity we want to get broad campus involvement in terms of the work that's been done to this point and bringing everyone really up to speed and creating avenues for people to participate. Now, what's been done to this point, I'm going to go back really to the beginning. And if you recall, there was a very extensive listening tour that was conducted in terms of the runner walk-in talks, all of the open forums. All of the information from those particular events and activities were collected. And the first output of that collection was the word cloud. And the word cloud is a very, very important visual in terms of, as we think of ourselves as an organization, what are the things that we highlight about ourselves and how do we see ourselves as we represent ourselves to our community? And it's clear there, as you might expect, and it has been my experience in the years that I've been here, that focus on students stands out loud and proud. That we care about students, that students are in the forefront of our minds with practically every decision that I make, and for the faculty and staff that at this institution that I know, also at the forefront of their minds with every decisions that they make. But also I want to highlight a couple of other aspects within the word cloud. I won't use the little laser. But you can see there, one of the important things is our diversity and our welcoming attitude in terms of just a general openness to different ideas, and diversity is something that we can see in the word cloud. Another very important aspect of the word cloud is community impact. You'll see that show up later when we're talking about the goals and the vision and the mission statements, because our community impact is something that we take a lot of pride in. I wish all of you were with us yesterday when we had a really robust conversation about one specific word, that word being region. What we centered on was the idea that we serve this region. Of course, we're a global institution. We send students into a global environment, but we really focus on, and that's one of the things that I see every day, that we care about Kern County, we care about the Central Valley. So the word cloud is one of the first outputs of all of that listening, those open forums, and all of the work that was done at that particular time. Now, I'm going to take a moment and talk about what are our opportunities. This would be the second, I'm going to give you a series of what we refer to as concept maps. These concept maps are also an output of all of that work that was done in terms of gathering the information, all the notes that were taken. The concepts maps exemplify or take that information that was taken from those particular open forums and puts it into a visual that we can actually dialogue about and have a conversation about. All right, so the first one that I want to show you is one of the things that appeared, the concept maps that I want to show you has to do with academic program development. This was a very important concept that came out in all of the listening that was conducted. The fact that our academic programs need to grow in terms of portfolio, develop new and innovative academic programs, but also an extremely important point that you'll see later in the goals is the fact that our existing academic programs need to be maintained and sustained. So another couple of things that you might see up there is the focus on STEM, as well as our graduate programs, and focuses on healthcare. Then the relationship. So when we're talking about concept maps, we're talking about how individuals who communicated about what they see in CSUB, how the concepts are in fact related. So we see that our academic program development was closely related to our pedagogy in terms of our ability to provide an experience through pedagogy to support our academic programs. A couple of other things that stand out there is our focus on developing different internship programs as well as undergraduate research. A couple of others that are related around the hub of academic program development would be our Antelope Valley campus, as well as global literacy and fluency. Two other concepts that came out of this particular part of the analysis of the data. Three other concepts that emerged from our conversations with the community were student support, outreach engagement, and our public profile. The public profile was particularly interesting in terms of how we believe that the community views us, which is always tricky. And one of the things that showed up in that particular was the relationship between our advertising, which might be something that we do more in the future, as well as our using athletics as a vehicle to reach different community populations. Next, we have two other hubs that emerged that were faculty and staff support, as well as innovation. Now, you're going to see the word innovation when we get to the goals, specifically as they relate to the development of our academic programs. I want to convey that that was a very long conversation and an in-depth conversation as to what, in fact, do we mean about innovation and what do we mean when we talk about innovative academic programs? How do we see ourselves as innovative creators going forward within the community? Another very, very important hub that eventually becomes a complete goal of the strategic plan is faculty and staff support. We had very, very in-depth conversations about, okay, how do we support our faculty in terms of professional development opportunities that take them to different places and give them opportunities, but also a very focused conversation about what we can do for our staff. And seeing our staffs as vital partners in order to take advantage of, in order to move innovation and all the other aspects of the strategic plan forward. We also saw a very, very close relationship signified by that particular line in the concept map, which shows that faculty and staff support and innovation were in fact related. Next, one of the concepts that really emerged was facilities. And we all realize and know that facilities are a very, very important part of our work lives in terms of they're the spaces that we work in, there's the spaces that are created for learners to learn in, and how can we actually develop and create a circumstance in which we will have better facilities, grounds, and buildings to achieve those particular goals. Okay. So after we had a conversation about these concepts in the strategic plan meetings in terms of those hubs in which I've mentioned and those concepts and how they're related to one and each other, we wanted to take a step back and say, okay, with what we know about our external environment, let's conduct an analysis of where we sit, the institution sits in our external environment, and what are the factors that really shape our institution to this day. We looked at needs, particularly in terms of what are the regional needs in this part of the Central Valley and in Kern County, and we thought to ourselves, how can we best support those particular regional needs? We identified 5 basic needs at this particular time. There are needs as they relate to transportation, logistics, and advanced manufacturing, energy and natural resources, agriculture, of course, healthcare services, aerospace, and defense. So those were the basic areas of needs that we identified to be advanced with this strategic plan. Also of importance in terms of our external analysis, of course, we're part of the largest 4-year system in the entire country of 450,000 students. And so the CSU, in terms of its goals, the larger goals of the CSU, also play a very, very significant role in how we are going to advance our strategic plan. There are 4 basic goals from the CSU that are really pertinent. Of those, probably one of the most important is the Graduation Initiative 2025, which you are all aware of. The Quality of Learning, which is an initiative of the CSU. Access to opportunity, as well as the concept of meeting students where they are, which is, took me a moment to grasp it, but is the idea that how do we organize ourselves, our structures, our processes, and our facilities to provide an educational experience that meets students where they are and their needs. So do not organize ourselves for ourselves. How do we organize ourselves for the students and the groups and the community groups in which we serve? I'm going to touch on our graduation initiative goals very, very quickly. These have been presented multiple times, but I want to do it one more time. In that, our goals for our graduation rates are to raise our 6-year graduation rate goal from around 40% to 56%, raise our 4-year graduation rate for first-time freshmen from about 16% currently to about 30%, raise our graduation rate for transfer students, the 4-year graduation rate, which is one of our strongest rates currently, from 69% to 74%, raise our 2-year graduation rate for transfer students from 40% to 48%. One of the real takeaways that you have from those goals and from what I've seen in the data, and this week I had a really good conversation with NSME as we met with the students, faculty, and the dean and the associate dean about school-wide initiatives as they relate to graduation and retention, is that one of the main takeaways from these goals is that currently right now our transfer students in terms of graduation and retention are performing slightly better than our first-time students entering the university. And so clearly that is something that we want to address, as we have been addressing over the last 2 years, and I expect we'll see some progress on that in the next cycle. And lastly, to eliminate all demographic achievement gaps. Meeting students where they are, which is a point that I raised a little bit earlier, which is to support students from different points of their life all the way through degree completion, and to balance our expectations that students must be ready for college and that we share the responsibility to serve them. Let's talk about, or let me speak a bit, right, as to what that in fact means. Oftentimes, when an organization like our own, which serves a very, very diverse population of students, and we accept very different types of students from a variety of different backgrounds. As I mentioned earlier, the question that we ask ourselves and that we will continue to ask ourselves throughout the strategic planning process is that those students are not coming to us with deficits, they're coming to us with assets. And it is our responsibility to harness all the assets that they bring and give them and create the opportunities for them to be successful. And so over the last 2 years, with all of the individuals that's worked on the Graduation Initiative Task Force, what we focused on is really inspecting ourselves. How can we take barriers in our structures, in our organization, away from students so that they can find the pathways to graduate? So when we're talking about meeting students where they are, we're talking about doing an evaluation of what we're doing, all right? And harnessing the assets that students bring to our community as opposed to looking at them as lacking in something. Individual institutional assessment. As I mentioned, we're going to continue an ongoing evaluation of the institution's readiness and for strategic planning. We've done a lot of that, which we've done over the last 2 years with our WASC review, which we'll talk about a little bit more shortly, in terms of how we have developed our own CSUB lines of inquiry, in terms of we've self-evaluated ourselves and looked at ways that we need to improve before the visiting team arrive. As I mentioned, here they are. Next slide. In terms of during the WASP process, we identified a variety of different areas in which the institution would need to improve before the visiting team arrives. This was a particularly fruitful process that led to what I feel like is one of the best institutional reports that I have seen in my 12 plus years of working in accreditation. And I really look forward to the opportunity for the visiting team to come in the fall and continue their evaluation of our institution. But what you see up there are the areas in which we have identified and we have already started to address in terms of areas in which we can improve. All right, taking a moment to go back and looking at our current strategic plan. Because we're going to talk about the new strategic planning goals, it's important for us to take a moment and reflect on the strategic plan that is currently installed at this institution. And if you'll remember, the current strategic plan has 5 goals: extend academic faculty and academic excellence, enhance the quality of the student experience, strengthen community engagement, develop an excellent and diverse staff, and develop a campus with a sense of community. And so those were very, very good goals of the current strategic plan. You're going to see a lot of that continuing in the goals for the new proposed strategic plan, but we actually innovate on a variety of those. All right. From the prior strategic plan, there are a couple of items from doing an analysis of the prior strategic plan of areas that continue to need to be addressed, that were not completely satisfied within the goals of the prior strategic plan. Of those, we still have work to do in terms of the number of tenure and track faculty, the number of grant applications, the number of academic internships and service learning participants, obviously our 6-year graduation rate, and of lack of growth in graduate student enrollment. Those are areas that were highlighted in the prior strategic plan as goals that we were expected to meet, and to be honest, we fell a little short on those. So one of the things in our current strategic, as we move forward for the new strategic plan, is that we should, of course, continue to address these things and work to find ways in order to improve those rates. All right, now I've reached the point where we're going to talk about our new strategic plan, and I'm going to hand off the mic to Dr. Kegley.
So, it's all set up. Yep.
You got it?
Okay.
You're welcome to use the podium.
All right, I'm just going to set this over here. Thank you. Welcome and thanks for coming. Our committee, can't bring back the cloud, but I want to say that our vision goals and mission statement committee focused on that cloud. And what we found out of your feedback was central themes, as Vernon said: community, students, community, students. And so we focused on that and moved forward to develop a new vision statement and a new set of core values. I will say at the offset, we looked at our mission statement. The mission statement is about who we are, who we serve, what we do. And we thought we did a pretty darn good job originally of our mission statement, so we didn't recommend that it be changed. Here are our core values. I think you will see the emphasis. First of all, we place students and student success at the center of all we do. This university is about students. It's about the success of students. It's about enhancing the life of students. It's about moving them forward with their goals and their dreams. So students and student success at the center of all we do. First, developing the intellectual and personal potential of every student. Not just their intellectual, but their full life potential. We are concerned about them as a whole person, and we try to enhance their lives in different ways and give them the skills and the values to move forward. Supporting the intellectual and professional development of faculty and staff. We want to support each other to also grow and develop and succeed. Contributing to the growth and well-being of our region. As Vernon said, a great deal of discussion came about yesterday about region. We do serve the international community, we do serve the nation, but we are here to enhance our region. We are the only thing in town. We are here to serve our region to help enhance their well-being. Nurturing a civil and collegial campus environment that champions innovation, learning, and diversity. You see again those cloud themes: diversity, innovation, and to have a campus community in which we work together collegially to achieve those goals. Engaging one another with respect, trustworthiness, ethical behavior, and self-reflection. We respect and honor each other and work together to achieve our goals. Promoting active, informed engagement in shared governance by students, faculty, and staff. We are proud of the fact that we do have shared governance on this campus. There are many universities that do not have functional shared governance. We work together to achieve our goals. Collaborating with the public, alumni, and one another. We are concerned about our public. We're concerned about our alumni, and we want to work with them to achieve our goals. So here's our draft mission. As I said, we looked at this and we thought it did not need to be changed. Now, you may have different ideas, but we thought it was pretty good. We are a comprehensive public university. We are here to offer our undergraduate and graduate programs. We want them to be excellent. We want to advance the intellectual development and personal development of the students. There's our student learning again. There's commitment to scholarship, diversity, service, global awareness, and lifelong learning. These are all goals that I think we remain committed to and want to remain committed to. And then we collaborate with our partners. We want to work with our community, and our community wants to work with us. All right. Now, we thought we ought to have a vision. What? Oh, she just makes a quick announcement, okay.
Sorry about that, but I know the printing is a little small, so what we've done is we posted it on the website. So if you go to csub.edu/strategic plan, you'll see a tab that says Campus Forum. These slides are now up there, so you can see it better.
And this is also why I'm sort of reading them. Now, we wanted a vision statement that was quick, easy to remember, that we could recite. We also would like to get some music so we can sing it, but we'll think about that in the future. So here it is, folks. CSUB Bakersfield will be a model for supporting and educating students. Again, students at the center, to become engaged, innovative, and ethical leaders in the regional and global community. We think this is what we are about. We think this is what we want to achieve with our students. So a one-line vision statement. And again, let's get some music for it. All right, shall I move on to draft goals? Or do we time for comments? Any questions? Reactions? Very good. Okay. I don't know, but seriously, any questions, comments? We had quite a discussion yesterday, and again, I want to reiterate what our president has said. We have listened to you people. We have constant discussion and feedback, and everybody participates. And we had an excellent discussion today. We refined these a little bit. We really didn't change the vision statement or the mission statement. So any comments, questions about any of this?
They'll be deliberating at tables.
You're going to be discussing this at your tables, but go ahead. Mark, did you have a...
It seems like most organizations try to get a mission statement down to the center. I think it's... Sorry. Okay. I like the spirit of the mission statement, but from everything I've read, organizations should try to get it down to a sentence or two. So I'm just throwing out the idea of maybe we could capture the essence of it at some point, rewriting in where it's very brief.
Mark, actually, we thought it was the vision statement that ought to be a single. You remember our other vision statement was very long. The mission statement is something that it's there, it guides us throughout our growth, and it doesn't really need to be that short. I think most mission statements, we looked at a number of mission statements at a number of universities, and this was comparable. It's the vision statement we want to be able to remember and say, and it needs to be short. Other comments?
Probably don't want to go too far.
There you go. Thank you. Absolutely. And I do want to recognize the individuals on the subcommittee who worked on that, on these new draft goals, Dr. Kegley, myself, Dr. Dernick, Dr. Jackson, Dr. Tarjan, and Kathy Barrios. Give them all a round of applause. Thank you for their hard work. And so, as was mentioned, the draft goals would serve as a foundation or the pillars of the strategic plan in terms of how we orient ourselves towards the future. The first one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the individuals who are going to talk about from the task force and have them talk a little bit about how we arrived at that particular goal. The first one is strengthen and inspire lifelong student success, and that's Dr. Kegley.
Okay, as I've said before, student, student, student. This came up over and over and over in feedback, and this is why we're here. It's for our students. As a faculty member, and I'm sure fellow faculty members share this, the greatest joy I have is to see my students discover their potential, to move forward, and to achieve their dreams. And so this is what we're all about. Sure, we give them skills. Sure, we give them intellectual competence and so on. But we want them to be able to achieve their own goals and dreams. So our goal is to strengthen and inspire. We want to help them strengthen their dreams, to discover their own goals and learn how to follow through on them. But we also want to inspire them to have lifelong goals and to continue to learn. So our first goal is to strengthen and inspire lifelong student success. And I think this is what CSUB is all about.
Thank you, Dr. Kegley. The next goal, advance faculty and staff success, and I will share this with my friend Dr. Dernick. Most people deride the word wordsmithing in terms of multiple people standing up and discussing a particular word. But in this case, in the process that we underwent yesterday and the days prior, it has a tremendous amount of value. And I just want to draw your attention, as I take my part in this describing this goal, the word advance. We talked about using that word because there was a palatable desire to move this forward. And the word advance really fit in terms of communicating not just the connotation of the word advance, but the definitional meaning of the word advance in terms of moving faculty and staff success forward. I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Dernick.
Thank you, Dr. Harper. Good morning. The thing that stands out in my mind in relation to this particular goal is that as we scanned other strategic plans and goals and objectives, no other institutions really articulated specifically development of staff and faculty. So we thought this was a great opportunity for us to showcase this very important aspect of this institution and provide opportunities for staff and faculty to explore, learn about, and achieve their fullest potential as staff and faculty. So we hope to have a full complement of activities to help with that development. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Dernick. And now for develop and sustain high quality and innovative academic programs, Dr. Deborah Jackson.
Morning, everyone. I'm very honored to be able to talk about this one goal that's part of what we're proposing for the goals for the university as part of our new strategic plan. And one of the pieces that we had a lot of discussion around when we were talking about this particular goal was that, of course, we want to grow, we want to develop, we want to innovate, but we also want to emphasize that once we reach those wonderful marks of success, we need to invest in sustaining those high quality programs that are already in our university, and that takes a considerable amount of effort. It's not always as glamorous as creating something new, but it is equally valuable. And so that piece about sustaining the good work we're already doing, we thought was a real high priority, and we wanted to make sure that that was visible, in addition to growing new programs, developing new programs, and making sure that we innovate and are on the cutting edge of what our community, what our region needs.
Bravo. And for recognize and address regional needs in collaboration with the community, Dr. John Targent.
Well, because I always do, I'm going to reiterate something Dr. Harper said. The applause given to the committees, the committee and subcommittees were well deserved. If you've spent hours wordsmithing with multiple thesauruses open, you could know what that's like. Some of you have been in committees like that. But it is an important exercise because we wanted to get just the right connotation to signal what our values and our goals and objectives are for the university. And of course, it's going to be your task to maybe refine that and see if we have the right words and give your input. Okay, so if you can't read it, it says recognize and address regional needs in collaboration with the community. So one of our core values was contributing to the growth and well-being of our region. And of course, that comes out clearly here. And we had quite a debate about whether we should do regions, our community and beyond, and other things. And I think the consensus was we wanted to signal to our community partners here in our immediate region that we are recommitting our focus to them and to signal to them how valued they are. Now, of course, we expect and we hope that our graduates, our faculty, our administration, staff, and others have an impact beyond this region, at state levels and beyond. And in fact, they have already in many ways. But again, we wanted to have that focus. Another core value is collaborating with the public, alumni, and one another for achieving the mission, vision, and goals of the university. And so collaboration made its way here. I don't know if you can see that, but regional needs in collaboration with the community. And the word recognize was added. We were looking for a word to capture what our relationship with the community could be. And I think that came fairly late, but I think it was important because he said we wanted to be signaled that we're going to be more proactive, reach out to our partners, not just wait for them to come to us and signal what they think we should be. And it's going to be up to, I think, all of us in these groups for the next couple of months, is that how long we have, to flesh out how are we going to measure these things. So we might think about things like workforce and economic needs, cultural enhancement, providing research and expertise to the community, providing service and leadership to the community. But again, those are the tasks of all of us to try and flesh this out over the next couple of months to figure out first of all, what our goals and objectives are, but then how we're going to measure how well we're doing.
Thank you, Dr. Targent. And I'd like to invite Kathy to come up and talk about diversify and enhance our campus resources. Oh, you want to use the workshop?
Good morning, everyone. So we ensured to include our facilities as part of our master plan, considering the need for expanding departments with classrooms and labs, conference spaces, buildings, a campus center, and support services. As the student population increases, we need to make sure that our resources increase as well. So in order to do this, we need to address our resources because our institution needs a more sustainable form of funding without heavily relying on state funds. And by diversifying our financial resources, we place an importance in finding new funding sources to bring more opportunities for our campus and to attain permanent and long-term funding to bring forth new ideas.
Thank you. And now I'd like to transition to Claudia, where we're going to initiate some table work.
So we are working on updating those slide decks right now. Just give us a few minutes. The other thing I was going to say, briefly forgot, but I'll come back and mention it. So I want to introduce next our advisor, Dr. Sal Ranella, who's going to come up and lead and facilitate our small group discussion. But also, I know the printing is hard, but we will be giving out copies of our draft vision, mission, and core values, as well as of draft goals. So as you're speaking and you're talking and discussing them in the small groups, you have copies in front of you. So Dr. Ranella.
Thank you very much, Claudia. First of all, on behalf of the American Association of State Colleges and Universities, it's great to be here and with you. And it's an honor for me to be working with President Zelezny, her team, the entire strategic planning and budget advisory committee on this really important process. And I really am impressed with all the work that has been done. Not only its hard work, but the sincerity and the love that has been put into all the work so far. This process is laid out in a way that gives you an opportunity as a university community to weigh in on a regular basis, to give advice to your colleagues on the Strategic Planning and Budget Advisory Committee. And that's what the next hour or so is about. This is an opportunity to kind of do a deep dive back to the university community, you who are the university, to see what you think. There are copies of the strategic, oh, thank you so much, yes. There are copies of the mission, core values, vision, and goals being distributed as I speak. And I don't know how far along the tables are in that, but I'll tell you what, does everybody have these copies at this point at each of the tables, or are you still waiting? Corgay's coming around. I'll tell you what, why don't we do this? Why don't you stand up and take a stretch for just a minute in place, okay? While this is occurring, so you get a chance to get the blood flowing again and all of that. And give it about 2 minutes, and then we'll get back to the tables, to the heart of this, which is your feedback. And no, you're not allowed to leave.
It's our university.
Oh, yes.
I'm glad you're here.
Let's do that. Absolutely. Yes, I need to double check. Fantastic. Fantastic. I will take my phone. Always got it clocked in here.
Did you enjoy the game yesterday?
Oh, I did. I wish the score was different, but it was not. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yes. At least.
People get in trouble doing it.
Okay, everyone, I think we're ready to go now. If you could please return back to your tables. Again, this is, in very real sense, the heart of today's event. It's what you think. So, every table at this point should have a few copies of the statements that were presented to you by your colleagues, the core values, mission, vision, and the goals. Also, at each of your tables, I'll give you all a second to get back to your tables so that we could get started. Great. The other thing that you're going to see at your tables is a worksheet. And I want to walk you through this very briefly. All right. On that worksheet, will be the responses of your small group to a series of questions. Now, the first thing that we want you to do when you are in the small group discussing is want to select a note taker. You want somebody who is going to be, perhaps has the best handwriting, to be able to take notes in bullet form of the responses to the questions, okay? So you need to select a note taker. And you need to record those thoughts at each table, as I said, in bullet form. The next thing that you're going to want to do is, after your discussion takes place, there's going to be a facilitator or someone else to report answers to the questions to your colleagues around the table. So what's going to happen, we're going to have about 30 minutes of table discussion, and at the end of the 30 minutes, we're going to say time out, and one of the individuals at your table, it could either be the facilitator or it could be somebody else, is going to be reporting out to the large group your principal thoughts, answers to the questions that were posed at your table. Now, we won't be able to get to every single table, but all of the answers will be taken into account by your colleagues on the Strategic Planning and Budget Advisory Committee. So every table's accounts will be taken, but we'll be selecting some tables sort of at random to kind of report out, to give you an idea of what your colleagues at other tables have thought. Just depends really on the timing. Okay. Now, in terms of who's going to facilitate, will the members of the Strategic Planning and Budget Advisory Committee, again, all those, would you please raise your hands? Okay. There should be one at every table? Is there not one at every table? Okay, if there is one at the table right there, I'm wondering if a member of the Budget Advisory Committee, we got a doubling up on the tables, if one of you could go to that table right there, so we have a member of the Strategic Planning and Budget Advisory Committee at every table to facilitate, okay? Okay, good deal. Dr. Tarzan's over there, so we're good to go. They'll be facilitating. Back over there. We're going to press you in service back over there. Thank you. Okay, these are your colleagues who are serving as the leaders, the steerers of this process. So they will be, in a sense, facilitating your conversation. They or someone else at your table can report out later. Now, let's talk a little bit about ground rules and guidelines for this conversation. And this is kind of important. Number one is rank doesn't matter, okay? There's a mixture of individuals at tables. Some tenured full professors, some tenure-track junior faculty, some people with fancy titles, and others. Don't be intimidated by that. And those of you that are in the facilitator role, please encourage everyone to talk. So if you are, don't be intimidated. Do speak up. Sometimes the very best ideas are the ones that are never spoken because somebody's too shy to talk about them. So facilitators, draw them out. The next thing is, this is a no dumb idea zone. If you have an idea or something that may be left field that you've been thinking about that relates to the goal, no dumb idea zone. Feel free to speak up. Again, so many ideas are lost because somebody says, oh, that's just a dumb idea, I don't want to say that. No, speak it. And facilitators encourage people to speak. Now, here are the questions at your table. And again, there are worksheets here, okay? Remember what Claudia Cotota said at the very beginning, the definitions of each of these? I want to go over those very quickly. The core values, vision, and mission. The first thing you're going to see is the definition of each one of them. The core values, what are our fundamental beliefs, the truths that we hold as self-evident? And Dr. Leslie talked about those. The student is the center, the community matters, it's our region that matters, et cetera, et cetera. That's example. The second is mission. Who are we? What do we do? Who do we serve? How we're different. The third, the vision. Looking into a crystal ball, like to the year 2025 or 2030, what is our ideal future? What is CSUB? We are we will be a model for, and it goes from right there from the statement that Dr. Zalesny shared with you. What we want you to answer is this question. On each of these statements, and you'll see a space where you can write your answer, for your core values, your mission, and your vision, is anything not clear or missing, or is in each statement, or is it okay as it is? Very simple question. Anything missing, or is it okay as it is? Same thing for the core value, vision, mission, and vision. Similar for your goals. We want you to look at those goals, and again, they are listed at the bottom of that sheet that you have at your table. And the worksheet, it has the definition of the goals. In broad terms, what do we have to do to fulfill our core values, mission, and vision and move the institution forward? That's the definition. The question is there anything unclear or missing in the goal statements, or are they okay as is? And you can respond by goal statement with bullet points. And then again, later on, you'll have an opportunity to speak out about them and share those thoughts with your colleagues. Okay, are there any questions, or is it clear to you? Seem reasonable? Okay. Let us go for 25 minutes on this, okay? 25 minutes of discussion on the questions that are at your table. Facilitators, please begin the conversation by selecting a note taker and then move on from there. So have at it. This is your opportunity. If you have any questions, raise your hand and I'll come around. You're about halfway through the time now, so facilitators, don't get too hung up on just one item. Move it along so that you can get through all of the statements and the goals. Okay, just a couple of more minutes, folks, and then we'll wrap it up, okay? So remember bullet points. I think it's going well. It's going very well. Yeah. Primarily students at the end there. Primarily students in the back.
I think so, yeah. That's Ben Perlotto's table.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay.
Will you let folks know that hot coffee has arrived?
Okay.
If they would like.
Okay, that's it. Well, there isn't time for every single table to report out, as I said at the very beginning. But I want to assure you that those, either the note taker or the facilitators, please, before you leave, everyone should turn in your sheet to Claudia Catoda so that she'll have those, can record them and take them back to your colleagues on the Strategic Planning and Budget Advisory Committee. So, but at this point, let's just call on a few tables to stand up and report out their chief findings on these statements. And Ben Perlotto's table at the end. Ben, would you please stand up and make a report with the mic? Somebody on behalf of your group. I understand that there are a lot of students at your table, so it's appropriate that we start with the students' points of view.
Just go over what we want. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ulysses Rodriguez, and I'd like to present on some of the things that we went over. Primarily, we thought a lot of the things were good as it were. Some of the mission values were good as is. We liked how emphasis on scholarships and supporting our students financially. When we went over the vision, we like to see more on how we can be a better model and create our own path instead of following other campuses. I've been a part of a lot of committees, organizations, and oftentimes we were. Oh, thank you. Okay. I'd like to see more how we can be a better example for other universities to follow. I've been a part of a lot of committees, organizations, and kind of just planning, and we often look to other schools and see their examples and see how we can incorporate what they're doing. I want to create our own models. I want to be that example. I want us to show other universities what we're doing here and show them that, hey, we have something great here. You should look into us. And for our core values, we thought that we need to, a lot of these things that we are talking about are great, but we need to do more and ensure that we do it, not just say it. And we believe that a lot of our goals are sustainable. One of the things that we went over is that we need to recognize and develop all students, and specifically the students who are struggling. It's pretty great that we have a lot of students who are succeeding, and they often get a lot of recognition, which is great, but how often do we see and hear about the students who are on academic probation and who are struggling? We should recognize that a little bit more and help support them. And expanding and recognizing what we're doing in the university, we need to show our community what we're doing, because a lot of times we're doing great things and not a lot of people know about it. And also, maybe when we outreach, we can show more than just our athletics. We can show some of the programs that we have. Because this campus, this community, this college has a lot to offer. And I feel like sometimes we just don't always show that. We need to concentrate on everything that we do, or show everything else that we do as well.
Thank you very much. Applause. Thank you. Very good ideas, terrific ideas. Where you started off with that one, the first one set the pace. You don't want to be best practices, you want to be better than best practices. You want to be a leader. Great, thank you very, very much. Let's go to next table over. Well, I guess, Victor, why don't you go next?
Hi there, I'm Jennifer Self. I'm brand new here at the university, Director of Public Affairs and Communications. We are the university advancements table, so a lot of what we discuss centered around the issues we work in every day. As far as the mission goes, we really felt it reflected where we are as an institution, and we loved it. And under core values, we felt that we're missing a lifelong engagement part. Alumni relations is so important to what we do. Alumni are our most passionate, persuasive ambassadors, and we want to make sure that alumni are a huge focus of our plan going forward. And I'm sorry, getting back to the vision, the core values, the last bullet point, we feel that value was perhaps a typo and that it should be replaced by vision. And as far as everything else, we feel it looks really good.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Ziggy Ziegfeld's table, if you'd be willing to present, stand up, introduce yourselves to your colleagues, and give your thoughts.
Good morning. I'm Aaron Hegde from the Economics Department. So I've been asked, since I have the loudest voice. I probably don't need this, but okay. So starting with the core values, especially in bullet point 4. So we agreed with most of these bullet points, but especially under bullet point 4, we thought we should include sustainability in there. So when you're talking about nurturing a civil and collegial campus environment that champions innovation, learning, sustainability, and diversity. So that was one contribution to that. As far as the mission, we were a little split on this. Half the table, management types, people, actually faculty or students in the management department, wanted it to be one sentence, and the rest of us thought maybe it should stay as is. So we were kind of discussing that in terms of, apparently there's some literature which says the mission as well as the vision should also be a one sentence. So we were split on that. So the other one, in terms of the vision, again, we had some discussion about should it be CSU Bakersfield is a model, or leave it as will be a model. So looking into the future to say something that, you know, we are a model and we will continue to be a model. So along those lines. In terms of the goal statement, we started with bullet point 5. As our leader Ziggy said, that's probably a good one to start with. And we figured that, as it states, diversify and enhance our campus resources, it's a good start because resources include facilities and pretty much everything else, financial, physical facilities, and even faculty, staff, and all of that stuff. So I think it's important as, the monies from the state is less and less, we need to diversify it and enhance it. So I think we thought that was a good, and if we were going to be ranking these rather than having them as bullet points, many of us thought maybe it could be like even the number one goal in terms of, because without resources we can't really do much of what we want to do. But also, of course, up there should be the whole idea of lifelong student success. The other aspect of it was one of the bullet points 2, which is advanced faculty and staff success. We thought maybe the success should be replaced by development, because development is more of a continuing, ongoing thing rather than success, which implies maybe like a final goal has been attained or something. So as we expect our students to be lifelong learners, we should all also be lifelong developers, if that's a word. Oh, yeah, I'm getting to that. So in terms of the mission statement, we wanted to wordsmith the word committed to in the top, where it says CSU Bakersfield is a comprehensive public university. Instead of saying committed to offering, is just to say offers excellent undergraduate programs. Because committed to means, again, we haven't really do that, but fact is we do offer excellent programs. So just say that university offers excellent undergraduate and graduate programs.
Good catch. Good thoughts. Good thoughts. Thank you. And to your table, the rest of the goals seem to be reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay, terrific. Okay, thanks. Applause for your colleagues at that table. Excellent. And I guess John Tarjan, your table.
Yeah, Ziggy told me a couple of times his table was best, and that was really good.
Hey, John, could you stand up? Because we're videotaping this, and everyone wants to see you.
So a lot of great suggestions, some specific, some general, and Crystal is going to review those.
So we started with the core values, and when we looked at the core values, we looked at number 5, and we like the word integrity. We don't know if it can be fit in there somehow. It does kind of speak about ethical, but integrity is such a great, strong word about teaching students honesty, trustworthiness, and all of that. And then we looked at core value number 3, and we thought this one might be a little too vague, and we wanted to consider bringing in some of our key values for our region. Things like economics, poverty, lack of education, healthcare, clean air, environment, basic needs. And so we utilized the terms intellectual, economic, cultural, and physical well-being into that core value to kind of give it a little bit more meat and potatoes on that. Also, one of the suggestions, which I think is great, is to consider bolding or underlying keywords, which would really lead to a great marketing aspect at the end, and maybe even some acronyms into those. For our mission statement, for sentence 3, when we looked at the prompt of who we are, what we do, who we serve, how we are different, the different piece is really our commitment to our community. I'm from San Diego, so other universities and bigger cities, yes, they do things for the community, but one of the things that made me and many others stay here in our community is it's palpable how committed we are to our community. And so really sentence 3 speaks to our commitment to the community, and we feel that this is one way we are definitely different. And maybe using some different words, strong, intensive, intentional way we work with our community and that we're passionate about working with our community. So we thought to bring that in there. And then vision, my name is Crystal Ball, so we actually had a crystal ball at our table. So that was great, Claudia. Good job. The vision we thought looked great. We didn't have any comments on that, and then we didn't get too much to the goals, so we don't have any feedback on that part.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. How to introduce the vision statement, as I said to Dr. Kegley and her committee, is really a style of the campus. You could say we are or is, as if you're looking into the crystal ball, or we will be. So, back to your subcommittee in terms of whether you might want to take that into consideration. Well, we've only about 5 more minutes left before the end of this campus forum. I want to just ask a question. My sense, listening to you, let's focus on the goals for a minute, those 5 goals. Am I reading you correctly that the umbrellas of those 5 goals, the student success, faculty staff development and success, et cetera, down the line, are those umbrellas, those topics, those themes big enough, the right ones? Am I getting a sense that you're comfortable with those themes? Yes.
I think that there needs to be something added to the very last one for resources. We also need
Just 1 second, just to kind of get some quick wrap-up thoughts on this.
Hi, y'all. So at our table, we did talk about all the goals, and we agreed that, yes, for the umbrella, it did service a lot of our needs. There was one thing that we just wanted to add, and it's just adding "and services" to the very last bullet point. Because, yes, we have the resources, but we offer a lot of other services for our students and our community. So making sure that we emphasize that as well.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, terrific. The president said we have just a tad more time. Good.
So real quick on that last goal also is diversify and enhance, and then have some type of stewardship for the resources that we already have. So that we
Good,
take
terrific.
care of it. Yeah.
Good, thank you. Did you got everything in, and did we recorded her thoughts? Good. Did somebody else, again, any thoughts on the goals as your colleagues on the Strategic Planning and Budget Advisory Committee move forward, and particularly these goals? We want to be sure that they contain the kinds of things you think that they ought to. Is there anything missing? Please, Dr.
On the third goal, develop and sustain high quality and innovative academic programs, we were concerned that it say something more like develop and sustain a variety of academic programs instead of the tendency maybe to focus on certain ones and ignore others, that we should be concerned about a range of programs on campus and should be developing a variety of academic programs that advance the mission of the university. So we were a little concerned that was too focused. And then we wanted to add under value that we was a value that we were going to add, core value, fostering a community of an environment of transparency and open discourse.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Please be sure that all these additional thoughts are recorded, okay, on the sheet, so that when they're turned into Claudia Catoda, they contain all of your thoughts. Again, any other thoughts on the goals? Because they were listed last, sometimes they get shortchanged. Okay. Yes.
I think most of us came prepared to spend a little more time here at 11:30, so I think the goals are important enough that maybe we should spend some more time at tables.
Do you think so? How much more time, President Selesny?
It's 10:30, so we are going to, you're already on daylight savings time. So we can.
Oh, actually, you're quite right. It's till 11:30. Okay. Let's go back into the discussion. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for my faux pas. Let us, I just didn't realize the timing as well as I should have. Let us go back into the conversations and spend time on the goals, okay? Thank you very much. Yes, general comment.
Hello, everyone. Darius Riggins, Director of Outreach. One of the things that I noted with regards to everything, and we said we will talk about with regards to goals. In terms of this whole piece, there's never a mention of graduation. And I know it's implied, but to say it is much more powerful, just in my opinion. And so we would think that that could be somewhere appropriate listed with regard to the goals, the graduation of our students.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, let's go back into discussion. Let's put in, since we've got a good bit of time, let's put in another 15, 20 minutes into discussing specifically the goals.
They're raising their hands.
Any more?
You want to be in groups or?
Yes, in the groups.
Oh, in groups.
Small groups. Let's go back to the small groups and discuss goals specifically. And I apologize, it's my mistake. I just simply misunderstood the time.
If you need warm coffee, we have refilled, so make sure your brain power is on. Ditto. Make sure your brain is on full gear.
Okay, since I went to daylight savings time a day early, I think we've got more time now. So why don't we just start around the room, and we'll just give as many folks as we can, every table as we can, an opportunity to speak. Let's start off with specifically about the goals, because those are listed last and tend to get shortchanged sometimes. And then if you have comments about the other statements, you can add those as well. So why don't we start off with a spokesperson from the table in the front row on the left here. Can we get somebody to talk about the goals there? Put you on the spot. And if you have any other comments about the other statements, as I said, please feel free to add
We didn't
those.
finish. We were in number 2, but we will.
Would you want us to move to another table and come back to you?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do that?
Hi, my name is Don Colleen. I'm actually this is my 8th day here, so I'm a...
Oh, you're a veteran.
new employee.
Yeah. You, believe it or not, you have the freshest perspective, so we're all anxious to hear.
I appreciate that. We wanted to, I guess, append how do we make sure to show that advancing faculty and staff success contributes to student success? So how would that relationship, because it is cyclical, how would that work or impact our end goal, which is for student success? So we wanted to replace advanced with invest, so invest in faculty and success, but the concern was that success is a hard thing to measure, and what does that mean? So what's the end goal of the success for the advancement? And for the third bullet point, which was develop and sustain high quality and innovative academic programs, how do we insert something in regards to cost effectiveness and affordability? I mean, I completely agree that already this university is much more feasible financially compared to the areas around Kern County, either north or south or even further west. But in regards to the financial success of students after they graduate, how could we positively influence that?
Right. I think that goal number 1, strengthen and inspire lifelong student success, was intended to get at the lifespan of our students, not only their experience here, but jobs that they're happy in and contributing to, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, but we can certainly go back and revisit that.
Justin has a comment up there.
Please.
Well, we talked quite a bit about that first point, and the suggestion came up, our tables dispersed, but we suggested that maybe it state strengthen student success and inspire lifelong learning. We thought that was actually what was meant by the statement.
Okay, terrific, thank you. Other comments? Let's move to other tables.
So on the third bullet for the draft goals, where it says develop and sustain high quality and innovative academic programs, we actually thought that worked really well, because we thought any program can be innovative and high quality, and it didn't necessarily point to any one area, so we wanted to keep that one. And then on the fourth, it says recognize and address regional needs and so on. We thought instead of recognize, we should have identify, that was more proactive. And then on the last goal, diversify and enhance, we said it should be diversify, enhance, and steward our campus resources. Just in response to Dustin's comment, there was a question at our table about alumni engagement and maintaining a lifelong alumni engagement. So if you do switch that around in a way that Dustin suggested, I think you could add and lifelong alumni engagement or something to that effect. That was a question that we had just going back to the core values for a second, that we realize alumni is included and lifelong student success is mentioned in the goals, but should it be part of our core values that it's kind of a lifelong alumni engagement to bring everything full circle? Just a question.
Thank you. Yeah, and that community engagement, perhaps it's identify and respond to community needs, something along those lines. Yeah. Next table.
Okay, on some of the goals, we thought, are these measurable goals? Is there a metric set to where we can measure the outcome of these goals? And so that was a question that was raised within our group. Also, with the last one, with diversify and enhance our campus resources, what does that really mean? I mean, is there something with diversifying? Is there, are we looking at it at a standpoint that, we're looking at it too thoroughly, or what does that really represent? Mm-hmm. And so that's something that was a question that brought up within our group.
Yeah. Just good points. The next step in the process is going to be to identify the metrics. Where do we want to be 5 years from now, very, very specifically? And then the last one, it was sort of intentionally vague to take into account facilities, equipment, and all kinds of different aspects of what resources are. And that'll be also identified in the metrics or the desired outcomes and in the strategies themselves. So very good points and good questions. Next table in the back. Back up again. Thank you. Part 2.
So we were also discussing that these are in bullet points, and everybody's referring to them as goal 1, 2, and 3, so there's a ranking implied. And if there was to be a ranking implication, then we would rank bullet point 5, the diversity and enhance our resources, as number 2 in terms of ranking. Not that the others are not as important, but if we are implying some rank, then the value of that. The other goals all seemed appropriate, and with the wordsmithing that was suggested, I think those were pretty good. Talked around some of it. Ours was on the bullet point 4, which says recognize and address. We thought that was a weaker statement, so rather we thought it should be changed to meet regional needs in collaboration with the community. So, because you can recognize and address and not meet the need. So we need to be, we are the leaders in the region, and our goal is to meet the needs of the region. So, and that's where we have the collaboration with the community. So obviously it's not something we could do in isolation, and we need the community. And as we've identified the strategies and the importance in the region, the community has been stepping up to help us meet the needs. So it's that partnership. So that's what we thought. And again, to emphasize the word choice resource was good because it captures all of the needs that are there in this campus community, whether physical, fiscal, or any of those.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Kegley's table? Yeah, I'm just going to go across.
Going back to something that was said earlier, we wanted to put on the one implementation of faculty and staff success, we wanted to put support or invest in, and we wanted to emphasize development rather than success. On the last goal, we thought what was missing in the resources was that we needed to, with our diverse resources, develop a strategic and sustainable financial model.
Yeah, I'm going across the room. Okay, do we hit?
There's the last
we're going to
one.
go back to that table, and then we're going to move across the room. Ready to go? Good.
Yeah. So for the goals, for the first one, we talked about adding, how they said, graduation education weren't addressed in it, and it's very important to address it in the first goal, and that we need to inspire continual education and training practices through education and graduation. And for the second point, we thought it was a little bit too vague, that we need to talk more about education. We were talking about possibly changing the word success to growth. There's always room for growth. Third point, we thought it was a little too wordy. The third point, we thought sustain, you could change it. We didn't like the word sustain, and when you mentioned develop and sustain high quality, we thought a better word, we thought maybe just taking out sustain or
Do you want to just grab the mic?
Yeah. I'm not sure. And recognize, someone else mentioned that we should take out recognize and change it with identify. It's a more proactive word, seeing that we are addressing these issues. And we didn't really get to the fifth point. Do you want to do it?
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's go across the room to the next table over. Thanks. Anna, you have there you go. We will not leave any table out.
Good morning, we made it. All right.
You're on.
So a couple of reference from this great table here. Number one, the reference to graduation that Darius mentioned in the goals, but one of the other points of bullet point 2 of the goals was potentially replacing success with excellence. It adds a higher significance to the development of the faculty and staff here, that excellence might be a strong word. And while I have the mic for a quick second, to jump to one reference we made about the core values that hadn't been addressed yet was there may be a natural flow in the reordering of the core values that starts with students and that naturally references our development, support, nurturing, and then engaging in outreach to the community that may flow well with the core values.
So would you, what would you change it to?
We would change number 1, developing intellectual and personal potential of every student as 1. 2, supporting the intellectual and professional development. 3, engaging one another with respect. 4, nurturing civil and collegial campus environment. 5, promoting active, informed engagement. 6, collaborating, did I get that right? Collaborating with the public, alumni, and one another. And 7, contributing to the growth and well-being.
Great. Thank you very, very much. Terrific. Next table.
There's been a lot of really good things said already about changing the goals, so I'll just stick to those items that maybe haven't been mentioned so far. Just on goal number 1, we thought maybe the word inspire could stand alone and that strengthen was not supported. And I know yesterday in the discussion prior to this meeting that some of the students did like the word strengthen, but at the table there was kind of consensus that maybe that could be dropped. And then for goal number 4, same discussion about the word recognize, and is recognize needed, but that's come up a little bit this morning. And then we had a pretty hearty discussion on where would items like campus safety, parking, and as Aaron mentioned a few minutes ago, sustainability fit in, because those were potentially action items, and we just wanted to make sure that whatever task force deals with this particular goal, that they take those items into account, because campus safety is something, our rates that we have now, we're proud of. It's a very safe campus, and we want to make sure that that's not lost in the discussion, as well as what the plans are for both parking, and if we're going to go green as a campus, can we make sure that some of those items are placed under that goal? But that was about it.
Thank you very much. Next table. Let's go back to this table here. Anything else?
We had already said about the goals, just to add services on the last bullet. The only thing we didn't bring up was on the core values, which would be the 5th bullet. And we were mapping it up to the vision statement, which says about educating students to become engaged, innovative, and ethical leaders. So we were saying that 4th bullet, nurturing a civil and collegial college environment that champions engagement, innovation, learning, and diversity, which maps it back up to the vision statement.
Okay, terrific, thank you. Is there any other table that has not spoken? There you go, the table of 2.
You pretty much said everything we were going to say. No. One of the things that we talked about was the idea of diversity, that it's more of a fact. You know, we can have diversity without even trying to have diversity, but what do we do with that diversity once we have it? And so thinking about words like pluralism or a positive engagement of diversity. The other thing that came up was where do our students go after they leave here, and who are they desirable to the community, to the workforce? You know, are they recruited from here because we turn out a good and great product? I hate to use the word product, but a good and great student. And I think the way, the change of the strengthening, strengthening student success is part of that. And so have we addressed that enough? And then the last thing was just the stewardship piece again, is making sure that, and I think all of our resources, and we're talking about the faculty as well being a resource, that it's important that we diversify and enhance and steward our faculty, and part of that is looking at our tenure density on this campus, which was a carryover from our previous strategic plan as well, and how do we make sure that that gets addressed within the strategy. So we had that whole long discussion of where does something fit? Is it a goal, is it a value, or is it a strategy? So that's it.
Good, thank you. And then finally.
And Dustin.
Okay, I'll real quick bring up our table discussions, a couple of things going down the row. Mission, it was noted that ethics, or ethical shows up in every section except for the mission statement. Vision, the question was, what are the implications associated with listing leaders in our vision statement, where it states, educating students to become engaged, innovative, and ethical leaders? Does that have implications for curriculum, that then we have to address leadership across the curriculum, rather than contributors or other options? Values, the question was placed, would it be better stated, student success and academic excellence are at the center of all we do. And then lastly, it was noted that we just need a grammar check on this. Punctuation is bad.
Finally, we got our chance. You know, we were
there you go.
Get a chance to speak. Thank you. Last but not least, you know, we had a very spirited discussion with our table. Just the two of us left, Professor Reese and I.
You just drove everyone off is what happened. Yeah.
So would you give me a few minutes to capture their voices too? So let me go back to the core values and the mission statement. The mission statement, we were overall satisfied with the mission statement, but then we felt that it needed to be trimmed. There's some duplication with the first sentence, intellectual and personal development, and the second sentence on the emphasis on student learning. And it might be easier to read it as a first sentence that ended in public university. So if we could trim that into a two-sentence, that would be great, you know. But otherwise, we felt that the mission statement captures the essence of who we are and what we do. And in the vision statement, the word model, we felt that it implies some kind of elitism, that we are an elite model here. Bakersfield College are the working class school, and we are the elite institution. We don't want to bring that connotation out here in our community. And we had a long discussion on that. And we suggested educating and developing as well as supporting rather than being a model. And we also had some issue with the word leadership. All our students heading towards leadership, can they serve the community? Can they contribute to the community or region and in the global community? The word leader connotes that every one of our students, we expect them to be leaders. That's the kind of a consensus that the table reached.
Okay.
And in the core values, we like the opening statement, but we felt that there's a sequencing of that. Point number 3 and number 7 were external oriented, and the others were more internal. And so we need to sequence that in an order in which either internal and external will be reflected.
Okay.
And coming to the goals, we struggled with this, and overall we felt that some of the wordings may be a little vague to a average person, but then we realized the goals have to be very inspirational and more broad. But the other thing, we felt that the goals should flow from the core values. The core values should be reflected in the goals. And especially 4, 5, and 6, it doesn't seem to be reflected. And if they are not reflected in the goals, perhaps they should be captured in the outcomes. The desired outcomes that we'll be discussing in the next iteration. And also, we like that idea that Justin said, that we played around with the first goal, strengthen student success and inspire lifelong learning. We felt that would be a better way to capture the first goal. And the goals doesn't even address the vibrant campus life that we wish to build here. That's not reflected in the goal.
The lively campus life?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's about all. But we had some comments about the PowerPoint presentation. The PowerPoint presentation spoke about STEM, more about sciences and technology. There was no emphasis on arts and humanities. We should consider using the term STEAM rather than STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics.
Right. Understand that those word clouds and those themes in the bubble diagrams were actually what the university community said. So it was reflective of what was spoken to.
Yeah, we just didn't want to
and it was, as you observed, perhaps indeed missing some of the elements on culture, et cetera. Yeah.
Thank
but
you.
that is what it is. I mean, that's what we reported.
Sure, yeah.
Crystal and John, did your table address goals, or you have more to say? Some more.
Oh, please, come forward then. Yep.
So we looked at goal 4, just like some of you said, we felt like there was maybe the missing action, please. We didn't see the action there. And so maybe proactively identify instead of recognize. And we kind of flipped it around a little bit. So we came up with proactively identify and collaborate with the community to meet regional needs.
Okay.
And then the goal 5, maybe consider the word broaden instead of diversify or vary. We're not sure if that's the right word there that we're thinking. And then maybe grow instead of enhance, but just little things like that. And we definitely like the addition of the and between the campus and the resources.
Great.
Thank you. We have some other contributors.
Anybody else? Okay.
Hi, my name is Amy, and I'm a senior here. And I just wanted to go through some of our other stuff here. In the mission statement itself, because we've got newspaper people at this table, we picked out the error. That's the middle sentence here. An emphasis on student learning is enhanced by a commitment to scholarship, diversity, service, global awareness, and lifelong learning. It's not active. There's not a person there. Who is doing that? For whose benefit? Just put a person in there. Make it an active thing instead of a passive thing. And I've heard that before, from others. Make the words active, put people and verbs in him. You know, okay, so in the core values, we identified a couple that were missing. I heard other people mention green sustainability initiatives and how important having that kind of physical, natural environment on the campus is a good thing for the students. It's a good thing for the community. It's a good thing. So, especially here in Bakersfield, it might be worth it to add specific language about green initiatives.
Sustainability, correct.
Another thing is, and I'm going to hit this again, it came up once before, but part of the appeal of this school is that it is affordable, and part of the challenge in this region is that we have to have affordable education. And so I think that should be a little more enhanced in part of the core values of the university, is to make sure that we are offering an education that is not only high quality, but also available in a financial sense. And if that doesn't necessarily mean, you know, making sure everything is as low cost as possible, it's finding other avenues for revenue, for funding. And that's what leads me to the third point, which is in the, where is it? It's another value that's missing, is the role this university could have in this community as a hub, an academic hub, a social hub, a place to come to get the learning, a place to come to share the learning, a place to access the resources among our faculty and our staff, and things like our food pantry and our library. And we have a whole list of things. The university has a role here in Bakersfield, in Kern County, in Southern California. We want to grow our time and our resources for the people who live here, not just the students that we serve. This university should be a rallying point for this community. Other places are college towns. Where are we? You've heard other students say, where are we in this town? We're the people. You want us to be the leaders of this community. We have to go out there and show them why they should make us the leaders, you know, as your students. So we need to work together on that. Once people in the community see that the university is proactive and we're out there and we're a part of the community, if this is a college town, the more contacts we can make with people, the more people in the area we can get into the educational setting. And that could change the face of the entire region if more people were getting this level of education. Where are we going next? I think I kind of, yeah, I said about the future leadership and just how we can work the idea that we're part of Bakersfield and Kern County and California, and we're not a university just serving students. We're not just looking at ourselves. We're not just looking at our own, but our place in Bakersfield. And that's going to be what leads us into providing leadership for the area. Also, I heard some people talking about alumni engagement. I don't know if I'm speaking out of order here, but it seems to me that the students' desire to get out into the community and show people who we are, and alumni engagement, that's the contact point into the community to get the alternative kinds of funding so that we're not so reliant on the state, so that we can develop more of those programs so that we have that. When you reach out to the community, they're going to reach back. They have to feel like we're a part of what they're doing, you know, too.
Okay.
I think I'm done.
You done?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Any other comments, please? Do we have everybody's comments on the house? Okay, terrific. Thank you. You've been very, very patient. I will say again, what's important at this point, everything can be taken into account, and particularly there's time to wordsmith core values, vision, and mission. To keep the planning process moving forward, there needs to be a pulling together of the goals relatively quickly, so that groups of your colleagues, including many of you in this room, can begin working on those and fleshing them out into desired outcomes and specific strategies. Again, my sense is that, again, these umbrellas of these goals, these topic areas, seems to be some consensus around them broadly, even though there's a lot of discussion about tweaking the words. Some of the words need to be changed, maybe, but there's a sense that at least the goals are covering the kinds of topics that are important to the future of the university. You agree with that? The goals are generally in the right direction, although they need to be wordsmithed. Okay, great. That is terrific, so that the institution can be moving forward. You'll be hearing again from your colleagues on the Strategic Planning and Budget Advisory Committee at the point where the desired outcomes, the metrics, and the strategies have been formulated so that you can react to those. Okay, with that, this has been an extraordinary session. It's been a little bit like setting your alarm an hour early by mistake and then finding out you got another hour of sleep. Only in this case, it's another hour of sharing ideas with one another. With this, I'll turn it over to your president for closing comments.
I want to thank.
Try the green one.
I'd like to thank all of you for your amazing participation and sharing your voice this morning. I learned so much from your feedback. Thank you again for investing in our collective vision, mission, values, and goals. And I want to thank all of our subcommittee members who will now be going back with your feedback to tweak the goals, and you will soon be hearing that we'll be appointing task force members to these goals that need some wordsmithing, and they'll be thinking about outcomes and metrics, and then we'll be coming back out to you as we did today to make sure that we've got those outcomes right. I especially want to recognize we had over 100 people participating today, faculty, staff, students, community members. Thank you very, very much for investing in us and caring about CSUB. We're truly rising together. It is very important for me to recognize Ziggy Siegfried. Are you here still? Ziggy, thank you. I want to thank athletics. I don't know if you know how difficult it is the week before championships for us to co-opt the Icardo Center while we've got teams that are readying for championships. I want to thank the cooperation that we have with athletics for letting us be in this center so we could all fit and hear one another this morning. So will you give a thanks to athletics this morning? I want to thank Sal Ranella. Again, thank you for your guidance this morning. Thanks for keeping us on